The hills might be alive with the sound of music, but on the train, you're more likely to hear someone complaining about last night's Mets game. How do our brains so easily distinguish between melodies and everyday chatter? Turns out, our auditory system uses extremely simple acoustic parameters to determine the difference. According to new research from an international team of scientists led by NYU's Andrew Chang, slow and steady noise usually gets classified as music, while quick and irregular clips are processed as speech.
We use mathematical models to generate a bunch of noise clips. And then we ask the listener to sort them whether this sounds like music or it sounds like speech to you. Essentially, like you look at the cloud in the sky, and then you find out, oh, that cloud might contain a face, this cloud might contain no face in it. What aspect of the cloud make you feel there's a face? We're studying exactly the auditory version of that.
Researchers also found response patterns that indicate we're persuaded most by features that match our idea of how a sound should be categorized. The results could potentially benefit people with auditory or language disorders by helping them bypass damaged speech mechanisms so they can instead sing out loud what they would normally say. Who are the people in your neighborhood, and what are they saying on Nextdoor? Billed as a wholesome forum for neighbors to connect about lost dogs and lawn service recommendations, Nextdoor has also been criticized for encouraging racial profiling and unnecessary calls to the police. And despite wide usage across the US, it has not been studied as much as social media giants Facebook and X. The team from NYU and the University of Michigan recently created a revealing demographic portrait of the hyperlocal social network.
We collected information about the bounding boxes of these neighborhoods, and we merged it with census data. And so we were able to get an estimate of the offline or real world context in which Nextdoor neighborhoods were active.
Nextdoor neighborhoods are more likely to be located in communities that are whiter, wealthier, older, more educated, and less densely populated.
And we also found that police departments were quite active on the platform in neighborhoods that had more racial diversity than the sort of average Nextdoor neighborhood had, and had higher home values. We can't causally identify why they're active. That's actually some work that we're exploring in the future, but we're just able to describe where they are.
And while innocuous Nextdoor posts about services or neighborhood logistics were by far the most frequent, the 6% that reported people perceived as suspicious received the highest level of engagement. NYU Tandon scientists have been working on a neural speech prosthesis that translates signals directly from the brain, potentially giving someone back the ability to speak. In a recent study published in Nature Machine Intelligence, a team led by Professor Yao Wang introduced the unique speech synthesizer, which converts a series of interpretable speech parameters into speech that mimics the natural sound of the study participant's voice.
Mouse.
The researchers also made a surprising discovery about the brain. Usually, it's the left hemisphere that's associated with language functions. But in the study, researchers were able to produce accurate speech decoding using signals from electrodes planted on the right hemisphere alone. Suggesting that it plays a bigger role in speech than previously thought. For more on these stories and on the latest NYU research, visit nyu.edu/news. I'm Jade McLean, and I'll catch you next time on Brainiacs.